Welcome to Engage MH, the Power of Mixing podcast, Moet Hennessy's first portfolio show. I'm Angela Sauvé, the Director of Trade Engagement, and I'm so excited to be here with my co-hosts, the Senior Managers of Trade Engagement, Rich Buchanan and Laura Catlaw.
Hey, everyone. Very excited to be here.
I am feeling very bubbly.
You are a very bubbly person, yes.
I'm also feeling bubbly. So we've got a very bubbly show for you today. So today we're going to celebrate a sparkling summer with America's favorite sparkling wine, Chandon California.
So tell us, what do we have planned for the show today?
Oh, we've got a lot of bubbly things. No, it is really exciting. We have Pauline Lohte, the head winemaker of Chandon California, and we're going to learn how to beat the heat with a Chandon Garden Spritz perfect serve.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I hope
too.
Brian brought ice.
Yes, I hope so as well, considering the heat.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this beautiful brand.
Well, Chandon is known in California, but it's actually a global winery. So I'm going to tell you the story of Chandon, the pioneering winery where the sun never sets. How does that sound?
Fabulous.
Sparkly.
It's very sparkly. So the story of Chandon begins in Argentina. Did you ever think that I was going to say that, right?
Nope.
Over 60 years ago, when a man named Robert John de Vogue,
Hey, he was on our first episode. We mentioned him.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Robert John de Vogue had a vision that was incredible to redefine sparkling wine by exporting centuries-old French winemaking craftsmanship and know-how to new and bold terroirs. Now, he set out to apply the best minds in winemaking by searching the world outside of France for the most exceptional grape-growing terroir. And in 1959, he had a bold and audacious idea to create the first Chandon winery out in Argentina in the foothills of the Andes. And that began this incredible journey to a discovery that would eventually unfold across the globe and redefine sparkling wine as it is. So Napa, California is where he landed next. This territory was beckoning him, and it almost didn't happen. There was a very serendipitous moment where Robert John de Vogue was attending a conference out in Napa, and this conference was held at a hotel, and as you sometimes do, he walked into the wrong room.
Perfectly in the wrong place.
I've done that.
I have actually done that. So he walks into this wrong room, but it actually turns out to be the right room, because you see what was happening behind those doors was a gathering of members of the Wine Institute of California. And they were gathered there discussing their wines, tasting samples, and talking about the potential of California wine. Because back then in 1968, no one really knew about how delicious and delightful California wine would eventually become. So this serendipitous, meeting turned out to spark a crazy idea.
Very good luck.
Very good luck. So what de Vogue sampled and what he heard in that room left him very impressed, and he knew that the next place where Chandon would land would have to be Napa. So he quickly hired an American to help him out, and this American was named John Wright. And John was an entrepreneur, but also a wine geek, and he had pioneered a study on the potential of California wine. So Robert John de Vogue knew that we needed to capture that, magnificent knowledge. So they partnered together, and on March 26th, Chandon, California, in 1973, was born.
And that is a happy 50-year anniversary to the Chandon team, right? 50 years, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Happy birthday, Chandon.
Happy birthday!
So they found the company, they found the winery, and the next thing on the agenda when you're crafting exceptional wine is to find the land, right? So John Wright handpicked sites in California that he knew would be the best for growing sparkling wine grapes. And those vineyards that Chandon acquired were in Carneros, Mount Veeder, and Yountville. Now, those vineyards today are considered among the best for sparkling wine in California. So it's incredible that we got there first. And the planting began immediately. And then in 1976, we had the first harvest and the first wines were made. And we have to give thanks to our first winemaker there, Donine Dyer. And she was mentored by veteran enologist Edmond Maudier.
I do need a definition of an enologist.
So enology is the study of wine.
Okay.
And so enologist, in a traditional winery setting, you have the head winemaker, and they're in charge of kind of the vision, the final blend, really directing the ship. The enologist is the person who's working with the growers, working with the people in the cellar. I mean, literally making the wine and helping support the head winemaker's vision.
That is an incredible team that he assembled.
Oh, it was a superstar team. And now, for over 50 years, Chandon California continues to create amazing, exceptional sparkling wines that are combining these French traditional techniques and winemaking know-how with beautiful California fruit that's, super sun ripened. You think of all that sun in California. And the winery Domaine Chandon, which you were recently visited, Laura.
I did. I had the pleasure of visiting, and I don't want to give the game away. They are doing some really fabulous renovations at the winery. They are working very hard to bring the magic of the rolling hills into the architecture of the buildings. A little shout out to Rich's section and behind the bottle. You can see those hills surprisingly show up on the bottle. So it's always been beautiful. I think it's even more beautiful now.
It's such a stunning place, and if you're listening or watching, you have to go.
Yes, it's worth it.
Domaine Chandon actually opened in 1977, so it's nice that it's, being re-energized, right? It's located in Yountville, California, so, a little bit of a drive from San Francisco, but it's a beautiful one. And today, head winemaker Pauline Lohte and her skilled team are out there innovating and just continuing to provide the best unique expression of the California terroir. When we'll talk to her in a minute, she's always talking about the brightness and the vibrancy of the fruit, the intensity of the flavors and the aromas, because her goal is to create California in a glass.
Well, she did it.
She keeps doing it. So now the success of Chandon, it doesn't actually stop in California. So, we have Argentina and we have California. And the other lands that Chandon has conquered, there's 4 continents. All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So we've got wineries in Brazil.
Founded 1973.
Australia.
1986.
China.
2013.
And India.
2014.
So I agree that the sun truly never sets on Chandon.
That is my favorite phrase about the winery. It never, ever sets on Chandon. It's a beautiful brand, beautiful winery. It is a beautiful bottle. I had the pleasure of learning from Rich recently a bit about the bottle, so I'll kick it over to him because he taught me some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, I love the bottle. We were just talking about the hills in Napa. At the top, the foil shows you the topography. Grab a bottle next time you're in a store or in a restaurant. Look at the foil. It's really interesting. The very distinctive, very bold vertical label that really jumps off a shelf. I love kind of the art major design degree in me loves the design of this bottle. But that's not what we're really talking about here. We want to talk about the wine that's in the bottle itself. We could talk for hours about the craftsmanship that goes in to make this wine, but, let's just cut to the chase. This is about highlighting the amazing California fruit and the eventual goal of making exceptional sparkling wine. And what I think Pauline and her team do so well there is they really capture this idea of California in a glass. They're using, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Meunier. We talked about the vineyards. They're pulling them from some of the greatest places in Napa Valley. But once again, end of the day, we're making this exceptional sparkling wine, and we're capturing California in a glass.
Okay, so distill it down for me. What are the 3 things I need to know?
Well, it looks great on a shelf. Like I said, I love the design of the bottle. It really pops out. It looks so modern. Simply, it's exceptional sparkling wine. That's to me, I love just that basic, very direct description. And then, they're capturing California. It's California in a glass.
Oh, I love, as the Californian at the table, I do love that.
That's the best way to describe it, because It truly is. Every sip, you're taken on a trip. You're standing there in Napa with the sun in your face and the breeze in your hair.
I love it.
Love it.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And now it's time to shake it up with our special guest, Pauline Lohte, head of winemaking at Chandon, California. Welcome, Pauline.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so honored.
It is such a pleasure to always spend time with you. And today we're not in the same room. We're in New York. Where are you?
Obviously, I'm at the winery, so I'm in Yountville in the heart of Napa Valley.
I love it. We're bi-coastal today. So our first question is a good one for you.
Okay.
If you could have a glass of Chandon with anyone in history, who would it be and why?
All right, so that's an easy one for me. This one will, for sure, it will have to be my grandma. It will have to be a glass of Chandon, but you specified it. Why my grandma is because she passed away when I was a late teenager. So she didn't get to see me growing up, or like she didn't get to see me do what I do today. So I would love to obviously catch up and see how she feels about what I've been doing, because obviously I didn't think she would find me in the United States right now.
I'm sure she would be
beautiful.
so proud of you, and that is really beautiful. You're doing incredible things out there at Chandon, California.
Thank
Before
you.
we talk about your role, let's talk about sparkling in general, because in the United States, there is often confusion with the sparkling wine category. So can you tell us, because you're the expert, what's the difference between champagne and sparkling wine?
So sparkling wine in general, it's about three things. It's about where it's made, how it's made, and the grape variety you are using. Pretty much those three things define sparkling wine. Unfortunately, in the US, we don't have a name for it, so it's called sparkling wine. Champagne is a sparkling wine, but it's made in Champagne, France. And Chandon is made in California. Like I said, it's a sparkling wine. So yeah, sparkling. So it's and we're using the traditional method. We're using Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier, but it's not called Champagne because it's not made in Champagne, France. But that's a main difference between Champagne, Prosecco, which is made in Italy using a different method, and Cava in Spain, and in California, it's sparkling wine. And I hope one day the category will be called Chandon.
Oh, I love it. I love that pioneering vision. Let's make it a reality. So, what are your favorite ways to enjoy Chandon in the summer? Are there any specific food pairings or places that you like to enjoy Chandon wines?
I mean, honestly, any occasion is a great occasion. So it's for me, enjoying wine. It's about the people you're with, where you're at, and I'm not extremely particular about how you should be doing it. But for me, my perfect vision is end of day on a sunny day. You're just having a glass of rosé because rosé calls for warm days, and it could be at the beach. And if I have to do any food and wine pairing, I would say like, anything from Caesar salad to fried chicken to burgers. Those are just great suggestions.
All right, everyone listening and watching, you've heard it from Pauline. You need to have Chandon with burgers, with fried chicken, liven up that Caesar salad. So you have an incredible and very interesting story on how you landed the role as head winemaker at Chandon, California. We would love to hear it. Can you tell it for us?
Of course. So I grew up in Champagne, but I didn't grow up in a Champagne viticulture region. My parents are farmers, so which gave me a sense of agriculture and a sense of terroir earlier on. At 14 years old, I told them I wanted to be a winemaker, and I never changed my mind. So I did my education based on that. I think for me, being a winemaker was just like the perfect combination of working with nature, but also the creativity and the scientific around it. And I think the fact that I was living in Champagne had to do with it. So for me, I wanted to not be a winemaker. I wanted to be a sparkling winemaker. So growing up in France, I thought I would be making champagne, obviously. And so I did my education based on that. So I studied at the University of Reims in Champagne. And I ended up kind of by not by chance, but like my internship, I did it at Moët Chandon, so our mother company, and that led me to actually doing an internship in Chandon, California, back in 2006. I was only supposed to be here for 3 months. It's been 17 years. So I started as an intern at Chandon, and then I guess quickly made myself needed. So we obviously extended my visa for a little bit longer, and then I got to become assistant winemaker, then winemaker in 2015, head winemaker in 2016, and now winemaking director.
That's incredible. And I have to say, at 14, I didn't know being a winemaker was an option.
Right.
I always love hearing your story. And your time at Chandon, which is 17 years, that's incredible. You've pioneered the evolution of the wine style. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I was telling you, I spent 10 years as an assistant winemaker, which honestly gave me a good enough time to learn about the region, to learn about Napa Valley, to learn about Chandon itself and the style of Chandon. And this is needed. So, 17 years seems like an eternity for working in the same company. But when you're making wine, it's really career that are actually quite long. And those 10 years were very important for me to learn all of that. Obviously, I didn't grow up in Napa Valley, so knowing about the intricacy of Napa or North Coast region was obviously super, super important for me. But then when I became head winemaker, I had the chance to have those conversations about wine style. So my boss at the time, Susan, was telling me like, okay, where do you want to take it from here? Like, what do you want to do? And first of all, I was like, well, thanks. I'm glad you asked. and then I obviously like presented them like a new vision that we've been presenting at our 45th anniversary. So it's been 5 years now. So for me, the vision that I had with the Chandon wine was we need to be distinctively different. So we are in a region, we are in Napa Valley. So I wanted the wine obviously to be delightful, to be amazing in terms of quality, consistent, but I think that's a given for us. But I wanted to make sure that we have a fingerprint and we are recognizable. And for me, it was a matter of like having really a California identity. So we talk about California brightness in the glass or California sunshine in the glass. So we worked on a lot of different things. So we worked on flavor intensity. So, when you have a glass of Chandon, I want you to smell all of the vital component, like, whether it's your brut, it's citrus, it's pear, it's apple. It needs, capturing the juiciness for me was quite important. Same on the rosé, more on cherry, blueberry, like strawberry flavor. So I wanted to make sure that the local identity of Chandon was there. We worked a lot on the texture of the wine, on making wine that are actually quite easy to drink as well. So you can enjoy it no problem when you're at the beach, what we were talking about earlier. So this is what really we've been working on and getting Chandon towards. So Chandon is also one of 6 wineries around the world. So we want to have like a consistent wine style, yet we want to be quite distinctly different from each other. So for me, I wanted to make sure my wine were quite Californian, and it's really not about making champagne in California. It's about using the know-how and the techniques that I've obviously learned while I was studying in France and in my career in France, but really about capturing that California essence. But it's also about innovation. It's about, you're in the new world. So it's about creativity, pushing the boundaries about sparkling wine. So we're just not afraid of being innovative and offering new things for consumers.
You've done an incredible job. And with all of this work that you've done, right now, with you, Pauline, as the head of winemaking, how would you say that Chandon, California is unique in the world of sparkling wine?
I think it's unique because, like I said, I think like we're very distinctive in terms of our style, and I think we're offering something quite unique and creative. So the creativity is something that I push my team and myself every day. You know, Shandon, we have the history of pioneering the region. So we were the first French-owned winery back in 1973. So this year we celebrated 50 years, our 50th anniversary. And they, you know, when they founded the winery, they had such a vision, and they were not afraid of trialing new things. And I think for us as a leader of the category, obviously we want to lead, and we want to just make sure like we are pushing the boundaries in terms of creativity and new offerings, and it's Shandon for me, it's capturing the California essence that I was telling you, but also having fun with it. So it's a serious wine, yet you can have a lot of fun with it.
And Chandon, California is America's favorite sparkling wine for a reason, right?
Yeah.
What is your favorite Chandon wine to craft?
So that's a tough question in the sense that obviously I love all of the wine that we're making, but I must say that I'm very partial to rosé, and I'm sure you've heard me say that before, Angela. Why is because I started my career crafting rosé, and it's also a very technical wine to make. I think it's the most difficult for me. So I like challenges. I like things that are difficult. So that's the reason why I think for me, Chandon Rosé might be my favorite one to make.
And it's delicious too. We're such fans of the Chandon California wines, especially the rosé that you've worked to evolve the style on. And this is a little more of a serious question, but it's something that Laura and I are so curious about, which is as a female winemaker, what's a challenge that you face that you don't often talk about?
I mean, obviously, I feel like the wine industry has evolved. I would say that the challenge today is maybe not the same as it was when I first started. When I first started, for me, there was very few female in the industry, and very few female acceding to those roles. So I think for me the biggest challenge was getting to that level, and I think as a woman it was the extra amount that you need to do to get your voice heard. So making sure you were assertive, making sure you voice your point of view without looking like you were bossy, or you know. So it's always trying to find that right balance when you're a woman, I think. But making sure that you have that confidence in you to push your idea, and making sure you're heard in a room where there's lots of men. However, like I said, I think that has changed in a positive way over the last few years. I think now my challenge for me as a woman, and I'm a mom as well, so that's new. I've got two kids, 3.5 and 19 months. And I think for me, I challenge like any mom in any industry. It's work and life balance. It's making sure that I'm available for my kids as much as I'm available during harvest for the grapes. So I think I think that's my reality right now. But I think a lot of women can relate to that. So at least I'm not alone.
Exactly. Now, what's one lesson that your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
So for me, I don't know if everybody should learn that, but at least what my job has taught me is taught me two things. Precision is one thing, because crafting sparkling wine, you need to be precise. I would say is half creativity and half really making sure that everything is working well. So like when you're bottling a wine, it's for sparkling, you're doing a secondary fermentation in that bottle. So you need to add the right amount of yeast, the right amount of sugar, etc., etc. So I think precision is and I want to make precise wines. So if somebody tells me the wine looks very precise, I'm happy. And the second thing for me is patience. So sparkling winemaking, it takes a minimum of 2 years to craft a bottle. So you have to wait until the aging is done because you cannot speed it up. And that has also forced me to be patient, which I was not typically patient, but I've learned through my job to be a bit more patient.
I need to learn to be more patient, so I'll take that lesson from you.
Precision and patience. Well, thank you for answering our questions, Pauline. And now it's time to put you in the hot seat.
All right.
Are you ready to be flambéed?
Hold on. Yes, I'm in the hot seat.
Okay, good. Everybody get in their hot seat. All right, what is flambé? So, super fun section of the show. It's going to be some rapid-fired questions for you. Don't think about your answer too much. We're just going to have a good time together. A-okay?
All right.
All right, let's do it. So, first question. Chandon by the pool or Chandon under the stars?
Pool.
Pool. I would have done pool as well. All right, we were talking about your dog earlier. So, what is one word that describes your dog?
Sleepy.
What's your favorite outdoor activity to do with Sleepy?
Obviously hiking.
What's your favorite movie?
Woo! It's been a while since I watched TV because I've got young kids. I must say it's not a movie, but I was really into Firefly Lane, the Netflix documentary and movie. When I grew up, it was a lake house, but I don't know.
The Sandra Bullock Lake House?
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one. What's your favorite city in the world?
I have to go with Paris.
What's your favorite way to unwind?
Change clothes at the end of the day with a glass of wine, obviously.
Okay. All right, and then a question near and dear to our hearts here. What is your go-to toast or cheers?
Easy. Thank you. Oh, it's such a pleasure having you. Cheers. Not complicated. Cheers to all of you.
Well, cheers to you and cheers to being flambéed. So thanks for playing along.
And cheers to you, Pauline. Thank you for joining us for episode 4, Sparkling Summer. It's been a real pleasure and keep bubbling up. And now it's time for Up, Neat, and On the Rocks with Brian Stewart. Welcome, Brian.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I can't tell you how much fun I have here.
Welcome back, 4th time.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Anytime you need me, I will be here. I live right underneath this table.
So Brian, tell us about the multi-step, complicated cocktail that we're going to do today.
Yeah. So I tried to dig up a multi-step cocktail with this particular bottle, and I just couldn't think of one because it's kind of perfect as is. Of course, we're talking about the Garden Spritz. Chandon's Garden Spritz is so fantastic for a lot of reasons. You know me. You know I love to make cocktails. I love the history of cocktails. I love to shake cocktails. I like to have people experience cocktails. But guess what? Sometimes I just don't want to make a cocktail. I just want something perfectly already assembled in a bottle that I can pour over the rocks and impress people with. Yes, that's how I like to entertain at home. Chandon Garden Spritz does that. So of course we're using the beautiful grapes from Argentina from Chandon, and they've also blended together a bitter aromatic liqueur using of course orange peels and herbs and spices, and it is stellar. And I'm going to show you how to build this. You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm excited.
Just buckle in because it's not tough.
We don't have seatbelts in these chairs.
Right. Well, we'll work on that. So again, as always, I brought my own ice. I'm just going to, I have a nice goblet glass in front of me here, this beautiful Chandon Garden Spritz glass. You want to put a good amount of ice into your glass here. And then you're going to, I already have an open bottle of Garden Spritz here. This is the hard part. Are you ready? We're just going to pour over ice.
I've never seen this technique before.
I know.
This
right.
is fascinating.
The great thing is that the aromatics on this bottle are so inviting, and you have the Spritz, which is such a hot cocktail. There is nothing artificial about this bottle. It is just natural, beautiful ingredients, and I'm just going to garnish it with a little bit of a rosemary sprig and an orange twist, and this is ready to enjoy. And I can't tell you how many times I've poured this over the rocks and served it to someone in my home, and people go, "Wow, It is special on so many levels. Of course, you have the expertise of Chandon sparkling wine to give you those perfect crisp bubbles, but then they've added these beautiful elements that have a great representation of Argentina, and you have this beautiful, delicious sparkling wine in a glass with a slight garnish to give you some aromatics, and it's ready to go.
It is so beautiful. The color of it is beautiful.
Yeah, the color is like this beautiful rose kind of orange color. Again, there's nothing standing out about this. It's not overly bright. That's because it's all natural. It's coming from the earth, which is very important when drinking. I think that's the way these trends are going. People are trading up to using nothing artificial. That's what this is.
This is ready to drink.
It's ready to go.
And it's gorgeous. What about our friends in the trade who are listening in?
Listen, I bartended for 20 years, and anytime you get something like this so special, it is a key thing you want to keep close to your toolbox, because making cocktails is part of the bar experience, but also a lot of the times you have to keep in mind service, and you want to deliver something that is just as unique as a well-crafted cocktail, but in a speedily timely manner. If you're 3 deep around the bar on like a busy Sunday afternoon and you got to get through it, I would love to have a bottle like Chandon Garden Spritz behind my bar, just so I can recommend it, reach right back behind the cooler and pour a delicious cocktail on the spot. Forget about it. As a bartender, these types of items like Chandon Garden Spritz is one of your best friends. You know you're going to open the bottle, you have a quality product that's ready to pour, and it's money in your pocket. I always talked about running a bar or bartending behind a bar as I'm leasing a space. It is my space that I get to lease for that moment. Again, this is quality product. It's delicious. You know you're going to impress, and it's just going to turn. It's going to catch fire in the room, and that's what you want as a bartender. You want to hand something over, and you just want to see the room light up, and that's exactly what this bottle will do.
This cocktail makes me light up. If I saw this, being ordered across the bar, being served, I would definitely want one. It smells so good.
It's a very high fashion cocktail, the way it looks, the way it feels.
Absolutely. And a cocktail is an extension of your style a little bit. Like if it's in your hand and it looks gorgeous and you're enjoying it, people want to be a part of that style. Thank you, Chandon Garden Spritz.
Well, let's drink it.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. And we have to raise a glass. That was one of the easiest cocktails I've ever seen be crafted. Cheers.
This has been a pretty fun episode, I think.
We covered a ton of information.
Speaking of covering a ton of information, let's wrap it all up and bring it home with 3 things that we were inspired by today. How does that sound?
Sounds great, as long as Laura goes first.
Yes, thank you. All right, thinking about things that inspired me, things that I took away from today. What resonates with me is that Chandon is an exceptional sparkling wine, and that every single time you taste it, you are tasting California in a glass.
Very cool. I loved when Pauline was talking about the kind of 2 most important things about her job, the 2 skills, patience and then precision. It takes a ton of time to make these wines. Sparkling wine on a good day is not an easy thing to make. And when you're making it that quality, there's a lot of time, also a lot of precision.
That's a really good one. Speaking of precision, it takes a lot of precision to create wines in, 6 countries, right? With Chandon. I mean, it's a winery where the sun truly never sets. So I'm inspired by everything that we experienced today, from, learning the perfect serve of the Garden Spritz. What an incredible ready-to-drink cocktail that you can really beat the heat with. It's just gorgeous, and it beckons you to order it if you see it across the bar, you're serving it across the bar, or if you're relaxing at the pool with a glass of Chandon Rosé. Maybe Pauline's there. Who knows? Right?
In my vision, she is definitely there.
So regardless of how you enjoy your Chandon, we wish you all a sparkling summer. Thanks for tuning in.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Stay sparkling.
Keep bubbling up.